Now in this section, 3.1.2, we're going to talk about finding the mean of grouped data. In the last section, 3.1.1, we found the mean when the data was given individually. But now, suppose that the data is given in a frequency table. So just consider this frequency table here. Now, I just made this up, and I've written here class number. So I just numbered the classes just so I could refer to them. But here's our class limits, right? We're going 0 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 11. So these are limits, not boundaries. Remember, class boundaries, it would go from, what, negative 0.5 to 2.5, 2.5 to 5.5, 5.5 to 8.5, 8.5 to 11.5. But these are the class limits. Now the class mark, this is the midpoint. That when we say mark, it's just another word for midpoint. So do you believe that that's the midpoint? So look at this class here. Add those two numbers together and divide by 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. Divide by 2, you get 1. And sure enough, 1 is right in the middle. 3 plus 5 is 8. Divided by 2 is 4. And sure enough, 4 is right in the middle. 6 plus 8 is 14. Divided by 2 is 7. 7 is right in the middle. And look, you can guess what the next ones are going to be, right? 1 to 4 is 3. There's a width of 3. Class width is 3. How many different values can you get in there? 0, 1, or 2. There's 3 different values, so the width is 3. What about here? 3, 4, or 5. So the width is 3. Now 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. All right, so there's our class marks. And I just made up these frequencies. Suppose in the first class, you got 2 pieces of data. Now you don't know what they are. They're just in the first class, right? You got 2 pieces of data. They could be both zeros. They could be both 2s. They could be a 0 and a 1, a 0 and a 2. You just don't know. In the second class, you've got 1 piece of data. The third class down here, no data at all. There's no numbers, 6, 7, or 8. And the last class, class 4, there's 4 pieces of data. And you don't know what they are, right? You just know they're 9, 10s, or 11s maybe. Now, because we don't know what each individual piece of data is, right, we know we have, like in the last class, there's 4 pieces of data in here. We don't know what they are. It could be all 9s. We don't know. So here's what we're going to do. Down here, we're going to assume that all the data in a class is just the class mark. Now, it's probably not true, but so when we make our computations, they're not going to give us exactly the values, but it's going to be close enough. We get more information than not. So I'm going to assume that what we have here are, back here we have 2 1s, 1 4, no 7s, and 4 10s. So here's the formula for this. So up at the top right here, so let's read it and then we'll explain what it means, all this notation here. So if you have a group frequency table, like we do down here, so if you have a group frequency table with H classes, now that H, that's just the number of classes. So in this case, follow it down here to the left, H would be 4, right? We've got 4 classes. So H, that's just a designation for the number of classes that we have. I'm going to use some letter for it, so I picked H. So if you have a frequency table with 4 classes, or H classes in general, in which, and in that frequency table, the class marks are, you know, the first one, the second one, the third one, dot, 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 the last one. So in our case, it's going to be what? The first class mark is in the first class. Midpoint is 1. So x1 is 1 up here. x2, that's the second midpoint, or second mark. That's a 4. And then x sub 3, the third class mark. That's a 7. And the last one, dot, 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 we only have 4. So the fourth one, that n would be 4, would be 10. All right, so those are the class marks. Then it says, all right, so if you have a group frequency table with H classes, 4 classes like we have, in which the class marks are, okay, these numbers here, you know, for us, 1, 4, 7, and 10, and the respective frequencies are, all right, the frequency in the first class, that's a 2. The frequency in the second class is 1. The frequency in the third class is 0, dot, dot, dot. The frequency in the fourth class, or the nth class in general, is 4. All right? So here's the formula. X bar is equal to this. You add up, right? Remember, that's an addition. So you add up what? You're adding up these little products, right? F times X, and then you divide by, okay, add up the F's. Okay, there's a lot of notation here. Let's just do an example and we'll point out what every little thing means. So when I look at this formula, look at what you need here. I know I'm going to add things up. What am I going to add? I'm going to add up these things. These are products. So what do I need? I need an X value, I need an F value, and then I need the product. Okay, so I'm going to write that. I'm going to write a little table for this. I'm going to write X, F, and then Fx. Okay, so I see what I have. So look at the formula, see what you need, and write it all down. Oh, I need an X. There's an X. I need an F. There's my F. And then I need the multiplication, Fx. So let's write down the X's. So the X's, now remember, the X's are the class marks, 1, 4, 7, and 10. So 1, 4, 7, and 10. The frequencies, right now our frequencies are coming right from here, 2104. And now just multiply them together. I'll show it. It's 1 times 2, which is, let me write it so you can read it. 1 times 2, which is 2. 4 times 1, which is 4. 7 times 0, which is 0. Careful, it's not 7. 10 times 4 is 40. All right, now the formula says to add them up. Okay, add up these. So I'm going to draw a line down here at the bottom. And what do I have to add up? What's the formula say? Okay, add up these. Add these up. What do we get? 2 and 4 is 6. 46? I got a 46. And then in the bottom of the formula, it says add up the frequencies. So if I add up the frequencies over here, or here, you know, the frequencies, I've got 2 pieces of data, then 1 more, and then 4. We've got 7 pieces of data altogether. All right, so 7 pieces of data. Now here's what the formula says. X bar is equal to, okay, what's that number right there? Add up the Fx's. 46. All right, so we'll get a 46. Bottom number. Add up the F's. I did that. I got a 7. So I got a 7. So on my calculator, I did that. I got 6.57. But I'm going to round off. Right, I'm going to round. Remember how to round? Look at your original data. Now it looks like, see, we don't really know what numbers those are, but I'm going to assume that everything is the class mark. This is accurate to the ones, right? 1 place, 1 place, 1 place. There's the 1 place and the tens place. Accurate to the ones. So I'm going to round off to 1 place more. Go to 1 decimal place. So I'm going to round off over here to that 5. So I'm going to round this like this. X bar is 6 point, now I'm going to round off to that 5. So that number right there is above 5. So I'm going to round that up to 6. So I'm going to say that the mean is 6.6. Now that's a measure of central tendency. So what we're saying is that a center value of this data is 6.6. Now, just to look at this, now normally we wouldn't do this, but I can do it here because there's only 7 pieces of data. What are the data values? All right, we'll look at it here. We're saying we have 2 1s. So if I wrote those down, we'd have, I'll do it at the bottom, a 1 and a 1. Then we're saying, okay, up here in our table, we have 1, 4. So I would have 1, 4. Then we have 0 7s, right? So down here, I don't need to write any 7s. But then we have 4 10s. So I would have 4 10s. So I have a 10, a 10, a 10, and a 10. Now I've got the individual pieces of data, and this is like we did in the last unit. So how do you find the mean here? Well, you would add these up, and then you would divide by the total number, right? 7. So you can see it happening here. Here's the 46 over 7, all right? So that's really what's going on, and this is just a shorthand notation for all of this. Now, this is only 7 pieces of data. If we had 70 pieces of data, we surely would not want to do this.